And so EEBC, we want to be a part of that to help them with developing programs that work really well for the contractors and for consumers. So with that, we're going to move this along fast and we'll get started. So Eric is Mark.
The controls.
Is Mark and Howard online?
Howard is online. Are you going to talk about the workforce?
Oh, yes, before I get started, thank you. So Deb's going to announce, we usually announce it at the end. So we have our workforce development training.
Yeah, I'll be real fast because I know I only have a couple of minutes. We've been on 2 pilots. We're on pilot third pilot for September 23rd. I have a full course class of students. Amazing students that are coming into this course. What I really need, if you have friends, contractors, I need contractors who want to play with us for a day. Our work experience day begins on September 27th. So if you know someone, please have them get a hold of me. They really need to experience it. So Ryan is going to host a few students. They are going to be specialized with heat pumps. We do 80% in the lab, 20% in the classroom. They're going to have experience with 4 different manufacturers in the pilot, so they really get the hands-on experience. And it's like the chicken or the egg. I need contractors this time. I have lots of students and great candidates. So if you're looking to hire or you're willing to just give somebody a workday experience, please reach out to me. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. There's many of you that I do want to connect with before you guys leave. So I'll let Patricia take it away. We do provide a discount if you have a new employee that you want to take this fast track course. We give a discount to our members.
Okay. Thank you. So just a reminder, so there's 2 parts to participate. One is that you want new hires. These are going to be students that have been trained from Olympic hands-on training, they're available to hire. So if you're interested in that, that's when you can do a work day. So you can take a look at them, they can meet you and decide if there's someone you want to hire. And then the other piece is you were existing employees, you want to upskill, and they may be new to the company or somebody's transitioning from furnaces over to heat pumps. They would be great to attend the training as well. So this is for our members. This is one of the things that we are committed to, bringing new employees and training. So there is a flyer on your tables as well. About that, it's the yellow one. And you can also sign up on the green form or skip action groups. But if you want to write in and say you're interested, it's okay. Yeah. That. So with that, let's get started with the regulatory news. We have Mark Depsky on our legal team, Lisa Davis and Howard Geller. They're going to give us an update. And I see Mark over there on the screen. And I think it's Howard. It's Howard.
They're both there.
Great.
I'm here.
Thanks for joining us. Do you guys want to take it away? It's pretty exciting. We've had a wild ride and we're just going to report out where we're at and what the PUC decided yesterday.
Yes. Can everyone hear me in the room? Was that a yes? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be with you in person today. I'm Mark Detsky, as Patricia said. We've had a busy summer for EEBC, and many of you are intimately familiar with what happened. And so often what we do from the regulatory side is forward-looking, where we're trying to plan for future rebates and budgets and savings goals and communicate all to you. And sometimes from where I sit, where there's a little bit of at least a time lag between what I do and what you do. But that changed this summer when Excel on July 31st suddenly announced what they called a pause and stopped all rebates in all of their electric DSM programming. They followed that up a couple of days later with a notice to the commission saying the program had been incredibly successful, and that's why they're stopping it. And then EEBC decided to step into the breach immediately. And within 2 days of receiving that notice, we had filed a petition with the commission to restart the programs, including a motion for an injunction, which is a pretty rare thing at the PUC. And a few days after that, Excel restarted its residential. They never stopped. The only one they didn't stop at any point in time was their income qualified program. They started their residential program a few days after we filed our petition with the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project, or SWEEP. And then a few days after that, Excel filed a motion of their own that asked for $34 million on top of the $92 million DSM program budget that they felt was necessary to restart the commercial program. And by now you've probably heard why they got into this situation, and had a lot to do with bonus rebates on commercial lighting that went in place earlier this year that were incredibly successful. And then Excel decided to stop those bonus rebates, but gave a runway for people to come in, and they received a flood, and that destroyed all of their budgetary projections. So they offered a motion at that point in time for the $34 million. Like I said, it had two other options. The other two options were a lesser budget increase just to pay rebates that were owed through July 31st. And then it had an option where the commission could just stop everything altogether. That latter option, to stop everything altogether, was unfortunately supported by the commission itself. Their staff was supported by all the consumer advocate groups. So we faced a lot of headwinds going into the last few weeks of the month. We decided to reach out to EEBC members to explain to the commission just the impact that would have on member businesses. We received a lot of responses, and we want to thank those companies that did respond. And those included Best Way, those included Larson, Pete Parrott, Robbie Schwartz, McBride Lighting, Group 14, Scott Kelly at CLI. And we took all the testimonials that we could about the real financial impacts. We submitted those names anonymously, but we took the real financial impacts you were telling us and told the commission exactly the financial impact of going cold turkey on the programs, what that would deliver. We got a series of decisions from the commission this week, and they're very positive. I'm pleased to report that we had a lot of success in this issue. I should take a step back and say what we asked for the commission was pretty simple. We said, look, we have a 60 to 90 day notice process that's been in place since 2009. And that's how Excel is to modify a program, bring on a new product, or end a product. And they didn't do that here, and they need to. And that 60, 90 day notice process should have the force essentially of law at the PUC. What the commission did was a procedural two-step, which we don't have to go into too many details, but they didn't grant our filing, nor did they grant Excel's filing. What they said was, in their decision, was one more piece of information here is that there's pending right now something we've been working on all year, is the 2024 to 2026 Excel DSM plan. I realize we're most of the way through 24. That's usually the way it goes, is that they have carryover. So we were nearly at the end of that proceeding while this was going on, but the decision had not come out on that settlement agreement that we have worked all year for. So we had these two cases that were in limbo. All this legal activity I've been telling you about was happening actually in the 2023 DSM plan, which is the one that's currently in effect. So the commission decided not to do anything in the 2023 plan, move everything into the 2024 plan, deny all the motions and things that were before it. And in their decision, when they denied it, they thanked EEBC and SWEEP. And they said, I'm quoting here, that we don't want to harm the ecosystem that can deliver cost-effective energy savings going forward. And we want to ensure that the goals set for future years are still attainable because there is a healthy functioning energy efficiency market in Colorado. And that was the point that we were trying to make to them, that the success of Excel's DSM program relies on the contractors and companies that deliver the products and services to customers. And what they had, their actions had risked, most importantly, their trust, or our trust in them and their ability to do what they say, which they had done over 15 years, was pay all the rebates and keep the programs running. And suddenly that was in doubt. And once that goes in doubt, once that gets down into the conversations between contractors and customers, it's a kind of an irreparable thing. So what they did yesterday was they had a meeting, a public meeting, where they made the decision. Thank you, Patricia, on this, basically on this slide that I'll walk you through. And this is really the punchline of where we're at and the success that we've had. And what they said is that they are going to approve the settlement agreement for the 2024 to 26 plan. That will put that into effect, not immediately. Excel will usually needs a couple of months from the time the decision gets entered to the time when that those rebates hit the streets, so to speak, and the program changes that are approved make it. So you have to figure something like December, January, until the 2024 or 2026 plan goes into effect. But they directed Excel to remove the pause as soon as possible. That was obviously the key victory we were looking for, to bring the full electric DSM plan back into effect on the commercial side. So that is an outright win for the advocacy that EEBC did. We're very proud of that. We don't have a written decision yet, so we don't know when or how Excel is going to do that. And technically, Excel has a right to appeal that decision. So we're not out of the woods yet in that respect. But hopefully Excel has the message and immediately goes and restarts the 2023 plan that we're currently in while they're preparing the 2024 plan. This DSMCAE that you see on your screen, that's how Excel collects the funds from ratepayers that it uses for the DSM program. And what this regulatory speak in bullet point 3 is saying is that the commission said we're going to approve this plan, and when you look at it, it's about $280 million over the lifetime of the 3-year plan, setting aside for that we're already in almost in year 2 of the 3-year plan right now. And they want Excel to borrow forward, essentially, to keep the program running. So Excel is to take money from future years, maybe up to $34 million worth, and use that to keep this year's program running. And then manage the 25 and 26 plan, or plan years, to the remaining budget. So that could mean a budgetary hit in later years. We don't know yet. The upshot of all that, as Howard can tell you, is that Excel has rarely, this is the first year in many years that Excel has gone, well, this is maybe one of the first times, maybe the first or second, third time since 2008 that the program's gone over budget. Usually it's been by $1 million or $2 million when it has happened before. But generally speaking, Excel has been multiple millions of dollars under budget. So hopefully, even though Excel has to manage to the budget, that it's not something that contractors and companies feel in terms of rebates or pauses or things like that again. They did say that if a pause is going to happen in the future, or if there is a change in the budgets in the future, that Excel has to bring that to the commission. And they have to use existing processes, such as they said the 60 to 90 day notice process to get that going. And when you put those together, that they have to use the 60 to 90 day process to make budgetary changes in the future, and they have to restart the programs, that is what we were arguing for over a month ago when we filed that emergency petition to get the projects going. So it took over a month to get the PUC to move, but the advocacy that Patricia led and that led among our team on the regulatory side and among all of you who contributed to the Brain Trust and to giving us evidence that we put forward had a direct impact. And they thanked us in their orders for that impact. And they thanked us for the education that we gave them, which came directly from you, the members. And then the final piece I want to mention before I open up to questions is that they are also going to order the creation of a pre-approval process in the future. And what that means is, especially, I think they're going to limit it, at least initially, to large budget items, and they don't say what that amount is, to change the cadence of this online tool, the Salesforce type tool that Excel uses to manage incoming requests. A lot of evidence got put out in this case about how Excel, even if they know your project is out there, they don't consider it something they have to fund until it's submitted for approval, which is when it's done. So they want to change that at the PUC to make it a pre-approval process so that companies have more certainty that work that they're in the process of doing is going to get funded, and that there's not there's not that miscommunication, if you will, or misunderstanding between the industry on the one hand and Excel on the other. So a heavy lift done by Patricia and EEBC in coordination with SWEEP and in coordination with members over the last month, and I'm pleased to report a lot of success. Any questions?
Hey, Mark, this is Ryan with Net Zero. Two questions. When do we have word on when the 2024-26 DSM program will take effect?
We don't have an exact word, no. Like I say, usually, so first, the steps are, first, we're going to have a written decision, and that I would expect within a week or two. Then we have to see if Excel or any other party, which could include consumer interests, files an internal appeal of that. Assuming that doesn't happen, then Excel is free to implement the changes. And so it usually takes, like I said, in the past, it's taken somewhere between 2 to 3 months in that time frame to get going. So roughly speaking, January 1 is a back of the envelope estimate.
Okay. And then
Can I add, this is Howard. Mark, I think if there isn't an appeal, given that the company, has known the details of the plan, for a long time. I would think they could get it going before January 1st. Maybe not November 1st, possibly November 1st, but I would think December 1st, if there's no appeal. However, my guess is there will be some appeals from possibly the staff of the commission or the industrial consumers, state consumer advocate, and that there will be time for filing the appeals and then time for the commission to deliberate as to what to do with those appeals. The appeals are likely to be around this issue of bringing money forward from the future plan and how that actually gets implemented in terms of BIP rate impacts. But anyway, if at least one party files an appeal, my guess is Excel won't appeal, but maybe other parties would. And then in that case, I think it is more likely we're looking at January 1 for a start date on the new plan. And I would also like to make a couple of other just quick comments. First of all, on point 2 here, the 280 million over 3 years, remember, this is just electric efficiency. This does not include gas efficiency or beneficial electrification budgets. And those areas were not at issue here. There was no overspending in those areas that Excel was trying to figure out what to do with, and then the commission trying to figure out what to do with. This is only electric efficiency. And bringing money forward, of course, that means there's less money. If 30 million is brought forward, that leaves 250 million for the 3-year plan implementation period. However, it's possible, given that the plan isn't starting until the very end of 2024, beginning of 2025, the implementation period for this plan could be less than 3 years, right? It's probably going to carry over into 2027. But if it only carries over 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, the total implementation period will be less than 3 years, meaning it'll be easier to bring money forward and not, rob Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, by limiting the marketing, limiting the intensity of the programs going forward. That's my hope, that programs will go forward robustly while at the same time bringing some money forward to keep the programs going until the new plan starts.
That's super helpful. Great, thank you.
I'll add that if there's an appeal, it's about a 2-month time frame to get that resolved. And Excel has said that they prefer to start new plans on January 1 for their own accounting purposes. I see the question in the chat was, is pre-approval process applicable to commercial, residential, or both? The answer is we don't know yet, but what the commission did say in their meeting was that it's for high ticket items, which fall mostly on the commercial side, more so than the residential side. So I would say that you're thinking about big ticket items for the pre-approval process versus, smaller equipment, individual home furnaces or that kind of thing. The other question was, the pause was caused by a flood of rebates for commercial lighting. Is there more info on this? The one thing I can provide via Patricia was Excel provided 2 sort of lengthy responses to commission questions on what exactly happened and what the status is of what they called its pipeline versus it's in review. And we can send those out to the members that provide detailed information from Excel's side on the budgets they were spending and the rebates they were giving.
Thank you both very much. I know there were a couple of questions. I think I saw Celeste had her hand raised and we got 1 minute left. I know Celeste, if you,
Sure, I'll just make it quick. I just wanted to, the previous discussion that we're saying starting again January 1st, does that mean that? I guess I'm still a little confused on like this pause versus starting the new program, where you said that they were recommended to stop the pause, but then also the 2023 program changes were rejected. So those budgets, I guess can you just clarify what happens between now and January 1st?
Well, I mean, it's good. There's a good reason why you're confused. That it's, first of all, A, it's extremely confusing, and B, they have, what I just reported to you is something that I took from their oral deliberation, so we haven't seen a written order yet on it. But if I can try and summarize what the result of EEBC and sweeps advocacy is that the program, the pause should be undone as soon as possible and get restarted. And then the other parts that I talked to you about are the under the hood mechanics of how Excel is to make that happen. And so the real world effect should be a restart, and then under the hood should be this process of carrying budgets forward from future years that have now been approved, and then managing to a reduced total in 25 and 26.
Yeah, the current programs are put in place again, and the rebate levels and, all the other details of the current programs under the 23 plan continue as they have been prior to the pause. And presumably we have to see the details that, any project that was completed in the last month that didn't get a rebate, that was, almost done when they called the pause. Hopefully the rebate, you get the rebate, that's exactly how this is going to work remains to be seen. But my expectation is that nothing is harmed in terms of project pipeline, and project completion date doesn't matter. Whether it was before the pause, a week after the pause, a month after the pause, 2 months after the pause, all the pauses goes away totally. And so we're back, it was a messy situation, but in the end we prevailed, and hopefully, everything's back to normal. And then, January 1 or whenever the new plan starts, the program changes and the new plan take effect.
So it's just the only difference is that's where they're going to get the money is from the new plan, and then the date of the new plan start will only impact if there's program changes. So anything in the new plan would take effect at that date, but existing programs will continue and will be funded from future plans. Great.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your help. Really appreciate everything everyone did very quickly.
And I want to caveat that there are the follow-ups you'll hear from Patricia and us is Excel cooperating with that directive, or are they fighting it, or are any other parties fighting it? And that is the hiccup that that we have to watch out for, and we'll report back on what happens.
I know we're late on time, but I'm still confused as far as the timing. And my accounting wants to know how much longer, or what would the range be that we might potentially have to carry the.
I think that's what we definitely did answer, but I need to close it up. I'm sorry. So what we'll do, that sounds like a big issue that we need to get answered for everyone. So, and thank you, Excel, for being here. You're hearing how this process works in our world. And so we'll work to get the answer, Scott and Celeste, for you guys on that, and then send that out in an update. And then Scott, if you can, we'll talk about the specifics, so we get that right.
Sure, yeah.
That would be great. But I also want to remember, this is the wheelhouse of the EBC. EBC was formed in 2008, and their first thing was to put in the 60, 90-day notice request. And so here we are, years later, or, decade plus later, and that's still in play, and it's important. And I think as members, a lot of times, sometimes members will say, oh, well, I haven't been able to come to the meeting, so I'm not getting value, so I'm gonna stop my membership. But you can see, like, it is critical that our members, remain members in quiet times, because when something like this comes up, you want EBC to have your back and be there, and respond within 2 days. We have a great relationship with the trade allies that are here also with us today. And, when we're in the intervening process, we're negotiating, but when that's done and we're back online in January, whenever it's going to be, that's when we're partnering with Excel and delivering the marketplace. And I thank our trade allies, Celine and Bob, for your efforts, because this probably has not been a process to go through. So we appreciate that, and we're going to talk about the upcoming clean heat plan in a little bit as well. So thank you for your questions, and thank you, Mark and Howard, for being our legal team and staying on top of that for us. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you all, and I will drop those pleadings I was talking about into the chat, so that people can click on them as well. So thanks, Patricia, and thanks everyone.
Great. All right, so let's move forward. Next up, we're going to have our panelists come up and give about a 10-minute overview of what's coming in the $1 billion plus of rebates for a couple of the new programs. And we want to think strategically now and start getting feedback now. So this is going to be really important. And, the programs are not fully baked yet, not ready to go, but having you get ahead of it and know what's coming, so you can think about your business and operationally, what are your choices? Are you going to participate in rebates with all the different rebate programs that are coming out? Does that mean that you're going to have to hire staff internally? Does that mean you're going to work with the third-party providers? We call them the IRA providers, the aggregators that came presented at our last quarterly membership meeting. You have a lot of things to be thinking about. So we're hoping to lay that out for you today. We'll get interaction groups after this and start getting to work like we always do. So with that, first up, we have Energy Solutions, Chris Prado from Energy Solutions. I just said that. And he's going to give us an overview of the lay of the land and some of the things to be thinking about. The pointer. Is there a pointer on this, Eric?
So I'm not sure. Look at it.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Prado. I'm an associate director of Energy Solutions. I think I know a lot of you, worked with you a lot in the past. We work with utilities, cities, states to help design and implement energy efficiency rebate programs. So in that vein, I wanted to spend a couple minutes to talk about some of the changes we're seeing between now and where we're going. So a couple minutes, I'm going to talk about how, if you're a contractor or distributor in the room, your business is going to change a lot if you want to take advantage of these rebates. So what's going on right now, right? Relatively straightforward. You have Excel, you have a utility, you have a rebate. Pretty simple. You understand how it works, the requirements of the homeowner to fill out the form to use a rebate. Relatively straightforward process. That is not what's coming soon, right? We have the DSM plan that we just talked about that is on pause, but restarting at a new date to be determined. We have the 24-26 plan that is starting in 5. That includes EE. We have the clean heat plan, which is fuel switching only. We have Dr. Cog, which Zach is going to talk about. We have federal tax credits. We have state tax credits. We have midstream programs. We have downstream programs. We have funding, right? So this is complex, and this is hard for some of us to understand, right? It's going to be even harder for your customers to understand. So I think this is important for y'all to understand what's coming to be able to take advantage of all this funding. Because your customers aren't gonna get it, and we shouldn't expect them to, because it's highly complicated. So just to look at, some of the numbers here, where that $1 billion, this is not comprehensive by any means, but you can see some of the programs coming. Right, we have the Clean Heat Plan, which is almost $500 million. The next DSM plan, similar funding there. As Howard mentioned, the electric side is about 280 million over 3 years, but then there's gas and a significant ramp up in EE that's coming as well. We have Dr. Cog, which we'll learn a little more about later as well. That's a huge chunk of money from federal funding. Homes in HERA is coming soon as well. We have the Collective Clean Energy Fund that you can use to help finance some of these projects. There's some workforce development in there as well. Federal and state tax credits. So you add all that up, you're over $1 billion. So what this means is there's a lot of opportunity. If you're a contractor or distributor in the room, there's a lot of opportunity for you. There's also a lot of risk, right? You got to understand not just that one program, you got to understand a lot of programs. So I drew this this little chart here just to give you a sense, right? If you're a contractor on the left there, there's at least 4 or 5 programs you gotta understand. This is not comprehensive by any means. There's a funding mechanism through CCEF, for state and federal tax incentives, like I mentioned. Right now, you might understand how all this works for Excel or any programs you participate in. You might have these questions answered and every other question you need to answer. We'll multiply that by 5 or 6. Right, because these are not going to be aligned. I think that's the goal. That's where we want to get. We want the programs to work together and make sense. But that's not where we're at yet. So these types of questions here, with the thinking emoji there, you're gonna have to understand and answer these for all of these programs if you want to take advantage of this funding. If you choose to only participate in an Excel program, but not Dr. Cog or not Energize Denver, you're doing your customers a disservice. You're doing what we're trying to do in this region for electrification a disservice. So take it on. The contractors who are able to really understand this and integrate it into their business are going to be the winners here. Because as we said, there's over $1 billion on the table. And it's not just installing, it's just not just knowing the efficiency requirements and what qualifies where, but inbound calls to your customer service, right? You know how to speak to these things. How do I know if a customer qualifies for low income through IRA, but not through Dr. Cog, or do they do both? Right? How long until I get paid? If there's a delay, who do I call to follow up with? Can I do a point of sale discount for this program, but I can't do it for that program? Complex, right? It's not as simple as it used to be. So these are very important questions for your business to answer. See the word answer got shifted down. That's okay. So I'll pause for just a second. What does anyone think of this? How does this make you feel? Am I resonating with what you guys think are coming?
It's a pain.
It's a what?
It's a pain.
It's a pain, yeah.
It's a real pain. It's absorbing a lot of our time. Just in our small business operations, just trying to grasp what it is, who to talk to, when to check on it. Should we check on it? Is it our responsibility to check on it? Do we do it for the benefit of the customer, or do we just sort of back away and say, here's a link, good luck.
And then there's not a link that exists to explain all that, right? So that's the challenge.
Oh, there's plenty of links. Yeah.
I'll send you 6 links and good luck, right? You don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And for, another example, and I might be behind on this, but I believe the state of Colorado has yet to determine how we apply for the revenue tax credit, state revenue tax credit process. Like, it's approved, but there isn't a process set yet, I believe, to be determined. So we're just accruing hundreds of thousands of dollars of potential return, and how do we document and submit? So and that's one of the small incentive programs that it's out there.
Yeah.
I have a question, because sometimes, residentially, like a lot of times the contractor will say, well, I'll get you the rebates, so they're already knocked off this price.
Yeah.
But that's a risk for them to try and find those rebates again, right? Like, these are a lot more complicated than the one I went through. So Yeah, it's like, if you say, oh, we're giving the discount already,
Mhm.
and then you have to try and get the rebate, it could be challenging sometimes.
Point of sale discount is ideal, right? And then how long does it take to get paid on the back end? That can affect your cash flow, especially for smaller businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing we mentioned last meeting with the aggregate providers was that if we could make that initial contact with the customer, have their address, then we have everything populated off of that. They can immediately, we send them a link, one link
Yeah.
to the provider that tells them based on their zip code, where they're at, because it's just like sales tax, you know, exactly what they can expect, and they can dive down that rabbit hole if they want. If there's a question there about income qualification programs, things of that nature. But the bottom line is, I've got a portal or something that when I show up, or, you know, when we show up as a company, we can speak intelligently to what that specific address can provide. And then it's just very broken out, very simple format, but it's just one thing, the customer provides the information, and then we can just go down the list. And it's not available, this is available, this potentially is available,
Yeah.
whatever. And then we always have something to refer back to. And more importantly, at this point, which is phenomenal, is that that customer can refer back for questions.
Yeah.
And so they're not calling the company and saying, hey, and taking a ton of time, look, do I qualify for this? Or, you know, the next thing you know, you got 3 hours a day, you know, with 2 or 3 customers, and just trying to hire people to do that. And then if they misspeak on one thing, right, and there's that rabbit hole, and or customers hear what they want to hear. I like documentation. It's just, you know, there's no miscommunication. So that would be my wish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I mentioned that in the next slide here, one over here. Well, there it is. The aggregators you mentioned, I just wanted to call that out here as well. What we call rebate stackers and processors for contract. Great, fantastic tool. I encourage you all to look at those folks and take advantage of it, because when you're having those kitchen table conversations, that's where you can see everything in one picture, very clear to the customer. They know that this $25,000 job is now $12,000, and here's some financing options, right? They lay it out. It's great, great option. They presented a couple quarterly meetings ago. Rock Rabbit, UI Technologies, talk about their solutions. They're all, you know, contractor based, slightly different, bells and whistles. Definitely ton of value there. Yeah.
Too, they do charge a fee
Yeah.
for that service, and they will carry the cost as well, so that your rebate is instant and paid up front.
Yeah.
If it's not being paid. So I look at them as basically, they're more like a startup company, they're nimble, and they've designed their company to service the contractor. So, and they're gonna get paid by the contractor, so they're very motivated to be your best advocate.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting opportunity that we'll talk about in the panel discussion, of how that fits in for, I think the EEBC contractors, you're the progressive, kind of the first adopters, the innovators before the first adopters, you know, so you guys are on the cutting edge of, I think, giving us good feedback from this.
About a minute or so.
Mhm.
Just wanted to contrast this structure with you as contractors dealing with each program directly versus these aggregators, right? And how that might play a role and help you guys. They can help do all that work for you. So that's a great service. But on the back end, they do have to submit those claims, right? It has to go to the provider, the implementer to actually get paid. What I have here is ideally an incentive processing platform, a one-stop shop, right? A clearinghouse, whatever you want to call it. This model is similar to the electrification program that's done in California, where there's a centralized processing platform. But without that platform, which we do not have right now in Colorado, without that falls to you guys or the aggregators to basically act as that platform and then communicate with each of those programs to make sure you're hitting the requirements and gathering all the data that you need. So that's something that we're advocating for, the EEBC is advocating for, that at the state level, there's some sort of clearinghouse where the rebates are stacked, validated, QC'd, processed out of a central portal. We're not there yet, but that's something that's happening in California. That's something we want to mimic here to make it easier for you, make it easier for the customer. Because if it becomes too complicated, you guys are well aware, you step back or customers step back, and then we don't hit our electrification targets. So.
Great.
Questions, Sean?
You say you use the term "we" several times in that statement.
We're all in this together, Sean.
Right. It is the generous week.
Yes.
Is that underway somewhere, that clearinghouse? Is anybody tackling that actively? And the follow-up piece, I emailed with Celine and I was asking, there was a little confusion about which rebate form or what's the most current version and these kinds of things. And that would be one piece I would ask to add in.
Yeah.
With that clearinghouse piece, not just the paperwork portion, right? What is the current version of this application?
Mhm.
And expectations around it, and even training. I know you have Brain Shark and such, but having sort of guidance on how to apply for and document.
So your question around, is this being worked on now? The answer is not that I'm aware of. And the reason for that is all these programs you see on the right side there, the rebate programs, they're all different entities, right? Some are utility based, some are regional governments, some are city governments. There's not a single entity like the CO, like the state level, who's guiding this ship, right? And when there is, everyone can kind of anchor onto that, right? And they can be the driver of that platform and have that authority. But we're dealing with piecemeal utilities and smaller level municipalities, not at the state level. The state does not have an electrification program at this time. So that's what makes it a challenge. It doesn't mean it's insurmountable, but all these groups have to work together, have to have some sort of alignment to make this work.
And that is a perfect segue to the next speaker. Did you want to add any more?
No, I think that about covers that. The main takeaway is just, things are getting much more complex, but at the same time, there's huge opportunity for the contractors to really take advantage of this and take the time to learn this and teach your customers, because there's a ton of money on the table for heat pumps and electrification. So.
Yeah, and thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate it. And we'll add to that too. I think all the groups from my perspective are trying to figure this out, and that's who's speaking today. And I think Dr. Cog actually has a portion that you're looking to see if we can get all the I say our because I include everyone who's presenting today as our group, right? To see if they at least stack the rebates for the Denver metro area. And so I think there's conversations and we're all having conversations trying to figure it out, and CO2 and everybody's kind of looking at their solutions of what they can do. And I think we're just now starting to talk a little bit more about how could that look. So it's not that everybody doesn't think it's needed, probably. I think it's that we're all thinking, how in the world do we make it happen between all of, the whole list on the right side? It's a lot. That is where I think EEBC has an opportunity to be a collective voice that we can get all those, and I was gonna actually talk about this for the panel, but I'll talk about it now. Get all of the organizations to say, you're putting feedback sessions together, but I think EEBC, we can have some deep dive discussions and have the questions come in from everyone who's gonna speak today. And then we can roll out the answers from our group to all of them. I think that's a role that we could play that could help, stitch together the market, some more alignment between all the organizations. So we'll talk about that later. And let's move forward. So up next, we have Excel Energy, Celine Chavez, and she's going to talk about the clean heat plan and the portal and some of the things they're working on for us. And clicker, let's grab the clicker. And then that's the forward thing right there.
Yeah. Good morning. See a lot of familiar faces and a lot of those that I've never met, so have not had the opportunity to meet you. My name is Celine Chavez, and the Trade Relations Manager for the residential programs within Colorado. Also joining me on stage today is Ellie. She's part of our regulatory team, and so I thought it would be great to have her here because I know she's working very closely with our clean heat plan. So if there's any questions regarding anything on the regulatory side, she will be able to address that for you. But I'm going to touch a little bit on the clean heat and how we've been doing to prepare for it. And also about the trade portal, which I'm really excited about because this is the project I've been very involved with that I'm hoping that will make things easier for everyone, for our trades, and help move business forward. So I already touched on this. So first of all, the budget. Here it is. So as you know, we have $440.5 million total over the course through 2027. So in vertical one, we have the additional gas DSM, we have additional electrification and recovered methane. In vertical two, we have our market transformation portfolio, and this is without new construction. And then, of course, there's new construction that's also in addition to those verticals. I think the most relevant for this group is going to be the additional gas DSM, the additional electrification, and also new construction. You can see down at the bottom that there is an additional 15%. Those are flex dollars that we can use within those years, which makes up that total of 440.5. And I'll just move forward. So the clean heat pump, or clean heat pump, clean heat plan highlights. So the first highlight is 20% of our approved budgets need to be spent on income qualified and disproportionately impacted communities. So keep that in mind. Also, retail customers qualify for our clean heat programs. So as you know, as of July 1st, we made the announcement that gas-only customers are now eligible. So that really opens up the doors for those gas customers. There's also going to be rebates available for various levels of technology for the customer based on what they're comfortable with. So think of hybrid systems, dual fuel, things of that nature. We also have a budget for residential all-electric new build projects, and that actually increased 6 times. Work has begun on several projects so far, such as the community ground source heat pump initiative, the recovered methane projects, and non-pipeline alternative projects. So what have we been doing internally to prepare for this? We have been super busy. So I myself have been a part of our internal journey mapping process. We have been looking at this from many different angles, from the customer's perspective, the supplier's perspective, as well as the installer. So what have we been doing? We've been prioritizing and thinking of the problems. So this process involves where we're ranking problems according to their impact on everybody who's involved with this. And then we're moving to the ideate stage. And that's where we're trying to think of solutions to that will impact the customer and the supplier, so we can, alleviate those problems that we have. And then also what we're doing is we're prioritizing solutions. So based on the programs that we're going to roll out in the future, we're taking all of those issues and solutions, and we're trying to figure out what are the top ones that we can make the most impact. So trade portal solutions. Oh, I have a question.
Just a clarification, you said that all gas customers qualify for the clean heat plan, what about all electric?
Yes.
Electric, only,
Yes.
no, not Excel gas customer.
Correct.
So if you're only gas and if you're only electric.
Or both, correct. Everybody.
Everybody except for transport. Everyone except transport.
Okay, everyone except for transport, she said. Yes, Sean?
Electric Excel with gas, you would.
Oh, I don't.
If you are with the paying into, yes, it's essentially you have to pay into those DSMCA's that Mark Detsky referred to earlier, which you would do as being an electric customer or a gas customer. So as long as you're not transport only, you qualify.
Good question.
Actually, along those lines, I was curious, and this is a little bit off topic, so if you go into a house where Xcel only supplies gas, and the only gas appliance they have is a furnace, let's just say, and you put in a heat pump and remove the furnace, do you disconnect the gas line altogether at some point?
Yeah. Yes, yeah, it's more of a customer choice. It's like sometimes customers want to keep their gas line, but yeah, we could totally disconnect them. We're finding that customers want to keep that line for a little while, just as they test out the technology for themselves. But yeah, we could completely disconnect them if that is what the customer wanted.
So there would no longer be.
They would no longer be an Excel customer, so
Be like-
they wouldn't qualify for new rebate options, yeah.
Thank you.
Whole day they might want.
Yeah. Sean, did you have a question?
I saw a Slack channel mentioned about the process to move through to request to remove the gas line, but.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I thought I read in the DSM program, the new, heat pump program that just was released a few months ago, that older homes were required to keep fuel. Did I misread that?
I am not familiar with that. That's something I can research for you and send you an update. Can you make a note of that for me? Okay, yeah, I'll find out. I don't know. But great question.
Home, and they would be, if they're obviously not purposely built to go all electric, we come into play, insulation, air sealing, but still, there's only so much you can do, and the great potential on those cold days is our drain, but I thought I misread, I may have misread it.
I can get back to you directly, and then I can also share that information with Patricia to share out with the broader group. Any more questions before I move on? Okay. Oops. Okay, so trade portal solutions. Disclaimer, these are only ideas. This is not, I'm not going to confirm that this will move forward. However, I think based on everything that we're working on right now, this is the one project that I think we're probably going to be able to implement soon before any of the other things that we're working on. So that's why I felt comfortable to present it today. And also because it applies to all of our trades, and I know it'll be very important for you. So this is a lot of my ideas, but it's also a lot of ideas from you as the contractors. We have done about a handful of interviews with contractors where we're asking for feedback about what you want to see in a trade portal. And it's also a result from some of the journey mapping that we've been doing internally. So the first thing within our trade portal that we want to see is administrative tools. So currently, I will tell you, we're a dinosaur. So a lot of what we do is very manual. So if ever you move and you need an address change or something on the customer facing list, I have to do that manually. And so obviously it takes a lot of time. So the one thing I want to implement is a self-service tool. So you can go ahead and log in, you can update all of your information, your website, who the contacts are, everything that has to do with that. In addition to BPI certifications, so we know that sometimes those will expire and we don't know. So I'm hoping that we can implement this tool where you can upload that information and we'll be able to check the progress on that and verify certifications. Additionally, access to program updates and documents. Sean, you had mentioned you had to reach out to me and you were like, hey, what form are we using now? Is it different? I know that is an issue, and yes, the forms change. So I'm hoping that once we have this trade portal, that'll be that one central location where you will have access to anything and everything that you need to be successful. And an events calendar. So, we have the contractor training that's going to come up. So it'd be nice to have an events calendar where we can just, show you things that are going on within Excel. As far as the learning management, Brain Shark videos and required trainings, I would like to house all of that information within the portal there. And then I get a lot of questions about AHRI and NEEP. I will be the first to admit, I'm not an expert. It's very confusing for me, but I would really like to build in some functionality tools to help that person who's trying to look for those details to understand it better. And myself, to be honest with you. And then an FAQ section. I think that's really important. And that actually was when we did some of the interviews, somebody had mentioned that they'd like to see like a frequently asked question area. I thought that was a great idea. Sales tools, a QPL, a qualified product list. That would be great. I know that a lot of the distributors are working on that and they have that. I'd like to implement that within Excel as well and work with the distributors. A bill cost estimator tool. I thought that would be great for you, the contractor, having those conversations with the customer. You could just log into your portal, pull that information up, and hopefully that would help you with your sales. And then in addition to that, you know, we do have some marketing resources to help contractors. So I don't know if you've all seen that handout. We've had it at some of our contractor trainings. And it's also available online, but it's the top 10 tips for your heat pump. But just to have a central location for all of those tools as well would be something that we'd like to implement within the portal. And the number one item that I think came up within all of the interviews that we've done so far is trades would like the option to track their rebate status. So that's another thing that we would like to implement, as well as a reporting function. So this is my last slide, and we are also within the Clean Heat Plan, we're trying to put together a workforce strategy. And so this is an opportunity that I would like to open to the group here. But we're trying to get a few contractors to help us figure out what it is that you need within the industry for in terms of workforce. So if you would like to be interviewed, maybe an hour or so, or less, depending on your time. But if you'd like to be a part of that, let me know. We might just do like one big focus group, or we can do independent interviews. So if you're interested, there's my contact information. Please feel free to contact me directly and let me know. And I'll add on to that, one of the things that we've been doing that not everyone is aware of, but we have been doing the trade portal interviews. We've also done whole home efficiency interviews. So we're trying to increase participation. And then of course, we've got workforce. And then also in addition to that is income qualified. So as we progress towards those plans, if opportunities come up, I hope that you would be able to help us with that. And that is it for me.
Hi, this is Howard Geller. I put a question in the chat, which I'm happy to read to you. Is the expectation that there will be separate clean heat plan rebates and DSM plan rebates for, say, heat pumps? Or will the two rebates and rebate application processes be combined?
I believe it will be separate, and to my understanding, and I'll probably ask Ellie to confirm this. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they'll be the same. So, the order of spend that the commission ruled on for the rebates is they want us to, it's gonna be the same rebate programs. We will go through all of the DSM funds first, and then we will go into the clean heat funding after that. So the recent process was just figuring out the order of spend. We will use just clean heat money for clean heat specific programs, but there are things like additional DSM and electrification. It will be the same programs, and it will just, we might augment the rebate levels. That's something we're going to discuss with stakeholders, which EEBC will be a part of these discussions. Over the next 2 months, we will have stakeholder conversations, and we will be figuring out just how much to augment rebate levels and like that to account for all the new clean heat money coming in. They'll be the same.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, of course, it's going to be a lot easier for customers and contractors if it's just one rebate and one application process.
Quick question. So my company works in commercial, so obviously the residential doesn't apply. But I mean, is there gonna be a similar program for commercial as well, like office buildings and things like that?
Within the clean heat plan?
Well, within any of these rebates, just curious, because like our client, well, office clients are like gonna take $1 million in fines for Denver, city and county of Denver. So I was just curious if there was like a link we could look at for rebates for Excel for that.
I don't know that there's a link, but it's my understanding that yes, commercial is part of this as well.
We will make a filing with the PUC by October 18th. on augmented rebate levels and augmented programs. So by October 18th, it should all be finalized.
Great. Any other questions? I'm gonna wrap it up and move us on.
Got me on the hot seat. Let me know.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Super helpful. Thanks again. And that's our goal, is to get us ahead of what's coming, right? So we can plan for it. So with that, next we have Zach Swank from Boulder County talking about Dr. and that's big news, what's coming. So clicker.
Are we on time? Do we need to go fast?
Right on time.
Right on time, perfect, okay, great. Morning, everybody, I'm Zach Swank, Maddie Nesbitt, who actually works for Dr. Cog, was gonna be here today. But she has COVID and she's kindly not sharing that with all of us, so I'm here instead. So who or what is Dr. Cog? If you have a mole on your back, is that the person to go see? No, they are the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and they have historically primarily done intergovernmental transportation planning, mobility. They also do area agency on aging. So why are they now doing rebates? Because the EPA made them eligible for a lot of grant money. The Denver Regional Council of Governments got together with the member governments within the Denver Regional Council of Governments, which is the yellow area here, to apply for and won just about $200 million in EPA grant funds. So why should you care about this? Well, there's a lot of incentives for building owners, HVAC companies, and/or distributors, and the and/or is there. We still haven't figured it out. We just got notice that we won the award in July, and I'll go through the timeline a little bit later about building these programs up. Which gets to the second point, which is there is a strong ability to impact program design. Chris rightly pointed out, earlier that there's all this sort of web and ecosystem of all of these incentives coming forward. The state's going to get their incentives out the door ahead of the Dr. Cog program. Excel is going to get theirs out the door ahead of the Dr. Cog program. And we're trying to, work with you all and work with the other programs to try and weave everything together as nicely as we can, recognizing that they're all being administered by. The other reason is that there's a lot of money in here for business support. And also workforce training. So not only helping to grow sort of the administrative side of your business, but also creating new trained professionals and technicians. So this is the overall budget of the next 10 slides. I'm going to go through really quickly, and Patricia has them and we'll share them out so everyone can review them later. But just sort of broadly speaking, there's $48 million for low-income work and work in disadvantaged communities, 17 million for an energy advising service. So to help homeowners navigate this complex process, to help contractors navigate this complex process. This is modeled off the Boulder County PACE and Energy Smart programs, if you're familiar with those advisors. 43 million for rebates and incentives. Building policy collaborative and funds distributed to local governments, and then 19 million for workforce. But at the very bottom, I just want to call attention to the 70 million in leveraged funds. So one improvement already from Chris's very excellent slide of all the web of funding sources is right now, City of Denver has their own rebate incentive program. Boulder County has our own. We are going to plug those things into the Dr. Cog program. So we will do away with those sources of extra programs going on, and the money will all flow through the one Dr. Cog program. So that's already one improvement. Yes. So I'm just going to say a little bit more briefly about these programs individually. So 19 million is going towards marketing, communications, and engagement. There is no, you all know, there is no sort of natural, strongly motivated actor to be running TV ads and social media ads on heat pumps, right? Manufacturers make both heat pumps and furnaces, distributors sell both, installers install both. And so we are aiming to be sort of broad awareness about what is a heat pump, does it work in this climate? You know, sort of head off some of those, both raise the level of awareness of the efficacy of this technology and then head off some of the common questions that you're getting from homeowners. Yeah, so that's what that is. Oh, and I didn't say this is all over 5 years. Chris had it in his slides, but I didn't put it in mine. It's this program runs from now, well, January till the end of 2029. Low income services, so there's 40 million, 47 million total with the administration there going into low income and disadvantaged communities. We're going to be working with, for sure, with Energy Outreach Colorado, you know, ERC, others, you know, trying to tap, you know, leveraging Excel's programs there, trying to tap into the existing ecosystem. Should also say, very exciting thing coming from Rewiring America. They got a $2 billion grant from the EPA, and they're also going to be working in the area on this space. Working with manufacturers and distributors and contractors, also supporting low-income and disadvantaged communities. So very exciting. When we say low-income and disadvantaged communities to the EPA, that means a very specific thing tied to very specific zip codes. I don't expect you to read this map, but it's there. You'll see it in the notes. But I think this low income and disadvantaged communities means a lot of different things to different people. It means different things to me than it means to the EPA. This is how the EPA defines it. It's people in these zip codes, businesses in these zip codes. We are working with the EPA to try and open that up a little bit. But just know in advance that for the Dr. Cog funds for the EPA, we have very strict geographical bounds on where those low-income and disadvantaged community funds can go. Energy advising, already talked a little bit about this. You know, this is for homeowners, for businesses, for contractors, there to be a neutral third-party service to help, you know, connect people who are interested in heat pumps to qualified contractors, clarify rebates, et cetera. Rebates and incentives, 40 million there. This is commercial, multifamily, residential, and again, will be augmented by the funds from City of Boulder, Boulder County, City of Denver, and others. Very likely to have tiered, you know, in addition to the low income work, we may very likely have a middle income rebate tier here. All of this is still theoretical to be worked out. Building Policy Collaborative. So this is to help local governments pass supportive policies on you know, in building codes and that support heat pump adoption. Innovation pilots. So shout out to Chris and Energy Solutions for helping us with this one. So this is modeled off the Tech Clean California Quick Start grants, which is up to $200,000 for businesses to advance this marketplace. So the example we always cite is in the Tech Clean California program, a plumbing company got a grant to have used hot water heaters on hand. So in an emergency replacement scenario, they could come in, put in the used unit, and then they could go have a little more time to get the electrical done to be able to put in a heat pump. So that type of innovation is the type of thing we're looking for out of this. And you know, this was the type of thing that'd be very much available for EEBC membership to apply for. Green workforce hubs. So training, career coaches, this is getting more technicians into the industry. There's 5 million there. Contractor navigator hubs, this is business development support for contractors. You know, the rebate aggregators that have been talked about, you know, these could be a component of this. You know, just simple sales and marketing training, et cetera. I was talking with Sean earlier about, you know, running a business is a lot of things you have to do, right? And so the idea with a contractor navigator hub navigation hub is to help make that a little bit easier for all of you. So that's the overall programs. How is this all going to be administered? So right now, Dr.Cog has 2 staff working in this space, one of whom was hired to apply for this grant. So they need to staff up. And for the time being, we have these working groups sort of at the bottom level that are staffed with municipal sustainability staff like myself and others, from Denver, around the region, that are helping to do the legwork to get these programs off the ground. Those will both report to a technical committee, which reports to an advisory board, which reports to the Dr.Cog board, which is made up of one represented elected official from all the 58 governments that make up the Dr.Cog region. So the reason I wanted to highlight this is on the ad hoc committees in the bottom, on the technical committee and on the advisory board, there will be seats where, Patricia or members of EEBC can apply and be a part of those committees. And so I just wanted to plug that early because it'll be really important to have your voices on those boards. And in terms of when does that happen? Here's the timeline. So they're getting some of their initial job postings out this week. If anybody wants to run this whole thing for Dr.Cog, apply for that job. It's coming out this week. We are, also working on draft RFPs. Dr.Cog's staff is not going to be delivering any of these programs themselves. It's all going to be through third-party vendors. But they are going to end up hiring about 15 staff positions. So keep an eye out for, say the low income and disadvantaged communities program administrator, right? Or rebates and incentives program administrator. Might be an interesting job position to look at. Mid-October, I'd say probably second week of October, the work group that's working on incentives, energy advising and innovation is going to have a forum. We are going to let you all know about it through EEBC, and we want your feedback on how we make that the best program we can. Also in mid-October, there will begin the formal recruitment for those advisory committee and boards that I talked about that you all could potentially sit on. And then in January, we should see the RFPs go out for this work. So, this is who's going to be the rebate administrator, who's going to do the workforce training. Those types of RFPs will go out. And then our goal is to launch in around this time, August next year, ideally. We would have liked to do it faster, but the EPA requires a quality management plan, is basically EPA's QI, that they tell us will take us 3 to 6 months to create. So that kind of backed up our timeline a little bit. So how to get involved? Through EEBC feedback sessions. I already mentioned Dr.Cog is going to be doing some hiring. I mentioned the committees that you can get involved on. Talk to your friendly municipality sustainability staffer. Hi, hello, I'm one of those. Because right now we are the ones that are doing the bulk of the work to envision and stand up and create these programs. Stay tuned for that October feedback session. We don't have a date set yet, but I'm thinking like sometime second week of October. And then there is a sign up for the Dr.Cog newsletter, which I know that's a crazy long link, but Patricia's going to send out the slides and you can sign up there. And that is it. This is my contact information. There's Maddie's contact information, and thank you all for your time. We have time for questions or later?
We could take one question maybe if there's a burning question anybody has.
The low income portion, do you envision that'll be like rebates or more like the weatherization program where everything's kind of paid for?
More like the weatherization program where everything's paid for up front. Yeah, to be clear, we're envisioning we're probably gonna have tiers, but there will certainly be a tier where it's go into homes, everything's paid for, free to the low income homeowner.
Just to feed off of that, what if it's an emergency? It's middle of winter, your gas furnace goes out, you need to get something put in right away. You might want a heat pump, probably. I think the city of Denver is almost requiring you to get heat pumps replaced with gas furnace. Do you have time to go through all the weatherization and insulation and weather sealing?
Yeah, so there's already, like through Energy Outreach Colorado, there's already an emergency heating system replacement program. We will be very, very likely collaborating with them on that and strengthening that program. And yeah, there are challenges there, right? But that's the goal, is to be able to get heat pumps in also in emergency heating replacements.
Great, thank you very much. And just a reminder, I feel like heat pumps is the new solar sexy. And so heat pumps, remember, I think in looking at your budgets and how they're set, put together, that, there's a lot of budget in for the analysts, which we called auditor, the auditors before, now analysts and that type of thing. And like you said, the weatherization, the insulation, air sealing piece, and the heat pumps. And of course, the NREL work, we had a report in the past that basically said, if you just go with the heat pump, you're gonna like triple the kilowatts or gigawatts. But if you go in with an envelope solution, right, do the envelope with insulation, air sealing, and to do the heat pump, it was only like 1/3 increase. So, and that's when you get the real savings of the comfort in the home. But I think yay. I just want a reminder, it's not all about heat pumps, and there's a lot of other companies here that are on all sides of the equation, that how we can make a difference in the home.
Yeah, and to be clear, the Dr. Cog incentives program is also for insulation, air sealing, not exclusively.
Exactly. So just wanted to point that out. We do have time if we want to take a 5-minute networking, if there's somebody you want to talk to, or take a bio break. If we do that, we would be back here in 5 minutes at 9 o'clock.
Just want to remind everybody, nobody noticed that we have a whole 24 bagels and cheese. So please be hungry or take one off for the break.
So bio break, get a bagel and talk to your peep and come back. All right. Thank you.
Chunk of that.
Yeah, seeing the way that Kylie was telling me yesterday, he's like.
Well, I do this kind of throughout the West.
Sure, nice.
So I have Rachel's number. Calls all the time being like, hey, Rachel, but I actually randomly laid
Stakeholder meeting.
Tech.
7 years.
Your number doesn't change.
Technically, no, but I'm still working here, so 3,024 the right direction.
So first off,
5 months of the year. Contract is signed. They trying to revamp it.
they really want to get. They bought 5 homes. So they want to put it on the
So this is a lot of exciting things.
Yeah. So my first meeting, so I'm still there. Trying to get my head around everything, you know.
This is my second, so yeah.
They were being.
Well, my first one, and it was me. So everybody was. Everybody's here. Yeah, no, yeah. Like I said, I'm on the hot seat, let me know.
Oh, okay.
Be energized Colorado. Oh, yes, we have top. I think, yeah.
Casey Daly's my business partner. He's sent the email to them, Ashley Berg, it's in our comments.
And so she's.
And I'll just share with you, in addition to the content, I want to do a training that's specific to the administrative staff. Yeah, because I know through our website can be challenging. We hope we can with that as well. But I don't want to do it just yet because we're gonna make changes.
I love the idea when you're talking about in your portal. Because sometimes we submit eBay. You don't hear. It was submitted, but you guys didn't receive it, like.
So it's like,
to have like. Don't have it, it's been, it's.
we'll have a better idea by filing the action on our 8 planets.
But it's just kind of like right now, it's manual. Corrections. But something that, you know. A lot of times too, when I heard from our. And trade.
Thing too, that it's weird. It's like sometimes we get it in the mail and sometimes we get it in an email. Like there's no rhyme or reason why it shows up in the mail sometimes. Yeah.
They sent it to my mail.
Sometimes we get it by mail, like it comes postage service, like with the correction. And some, I mean, I understand you guys process, right? Sometimes things are a mistake where there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I, from what was reported by rebate operations, you don't have to be on this, but I think the. Is for I think it's 90 days after the fact. And so there's notifications that get sent out every so often, and I think is like the last resort. I think that's possibly why, I don't know.
As long as we get them right, we can get them back and then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right, yeah, but no, what you just mentioned, that came up in every single interview.
That's already existing. So.
So definitely some value in that.
Smooth, come over and say hi, introduce myself.
That.
I'll shoot you an email so you have my contact.
My understanding, I don't know if things change, you know, as it goes through the process, so sure. I've got some questions, I'll come to you. If I don't have it already, sure, yeah. That's right. Lean and kind of the Excel team. I've been trying to do these since 2018 and get challenging strategic.
Yeah, no, we.
Should we be there, right?
Yeah. Every Wednesday, yeah.
I know.
So it really. If anyone, any intervening.
But you have to think about that in advance.
We're not trying to drag our feet here.
No advantage.
Yeah, no, we wanna get this resolved, we wanna get.
Well.
Hey, everybody, let's get started. Everyone, let's get started.
I'm gonna whistle is, but I'm.
How we go.
Farmer girl in me still. I learned to whistle like that on the farm, by the way. Thank you very much, everyone. So let's get started and move to our next speaker. So two things that I think are important for us to be thinking about, learning about the funding that's coming. We've got CSEF, called we're the Colorado Clean Energy Fund. Now they're the collective Colorado Energy Fund, a clean energy fund. And talking about on-bill financing, I mentioned in my note to everyone that that is the multiplier for rebate uptake. And so she's going to talk about some exciting new financing. Can I tell how much the amount for the residential interest rate? Okay, just because I saw it. So anyway, exciting news. They are coming out with a new product and the interest rate is 4 to 4.99%. So that's way under the interest rate. So it's an exciting topic and it is financing is the, if the rebates, she has stats on how often rebates are influence a homeowner to make a decision or a building owner. And then when you add financing, that almost is as important as the rebate for them to make some of the clean energy decisions. So up next, we have Emily Richardson. And it's this button right there is the answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I think I've met some of you in the room before, but some of you I haven't. So I'm Emily Richardson. I'm the residential director at now the Collective Clean Energy Fund. You've known this previously as the Colorado Clean Energy Fund. We are a green bank, formerly based here in the state of Colorado, serving only the state of Colorado, and through some federal funding opportunities that I'll be getting to in this presentation. We are expanding our footprint to additional states, and as such wanted to adopt a name that would be more representative of the states that we're serving. So Collective Clean Energy Fund, here to talk about primarily our new on-bill repayment program, which launched this year, but also to kind of give a quick refresher of some of the other financing products that we have across the organization. So as I mentioned, CSEF is Colorado's green bank. We will soon be a green bank for all of EPA Region 8 through some of this federal funding that I mentioned. So we were initially capitalized by a one-time state grant from the state of Colorado to provide low-cost, flexible financing across a wide variety of sectors in the clean energy market here in Colorado. The markets we serve are across both commercial and residential entities. As I mentioned, I'm the residential director at CSEF, and so I can speak primarily and in most detail to our residential programs, but our commercial products cover many different project types, including commercial properties, multifamily housing, which includes affordable housing, nonprofits, and ag projects. And I'll have my colleague Catherine's contact information at the end of this slide deck if any of y'all do commercial projects. And on the residential side, this is primarily going to be in the single family housing space, owner occupied, or owners are the borrowers of these properties. But we do have a component of our on-bill program that we hope to expand to the renter segment in the coming months. So this is our team. We're spread across, as I mentioned, 2 departments, commercial and residential, with staff in a marketing, community engagement, and business development capacity as well. I will plug right now that CSEF is currently hiring for a workforce engagement manager. So we do a lot of work with contractors. We have a trained network of contractors that deploy our financing. And this person would really be the point person that is taking care of the recruitment, training our contractors, nurturing relationships, gathering your feedback on our programs to strengthen them and make them work better for your businesses, and doing some market research across these segments. So if you know anybody in this community who is looking for a job, please send them our way. So why partner with CSEF? Patricia got into this a little bit, but just want to highlight really quickly the power of financing to close more projects. So a couple of studies highlighted here. One demonstrates that 76% of customers are more likely to make a purchase when a nice, neat, simple payment plan is offered to them, which is what we can do through our financing. Another study showing that financing can typically increase sales by 20%. And then generally speaking, financing does enable the closing of higher dollar amount or larger dollar amount deals. So if you've got somebody looking at one measure, but maybe they would benefit from a multi-measure project for their home, but they weren't quite ready to make that upfront capital investment, our financing can come in and really help turn that into bite-sized amounts of money paid on a monthly basis. So we've talked a lot about rebates today, and I just like to use this slide to kind of demonstrate how rebates and financing can work together to really benefit the customer and help them get to that yes on their project. This is an example 2023 invoice that was provided to me by a partner at Tri-State Generation Transmission. The total cost of the project was $14,770, with about $9,000 being towards equipment, the rest being towards labor. There was a utility rebate applied of $2,400, $1,500 from the Colorado tax credit program. And down the road, that customer was going to be able to claim the $2,000 federal tax credit with a final cost of $8,870, but $12,000 of which were due upfront prior to the tax credits being applied. Sure, some people are fine just writing a check using their credit card to pay for $8,000 upfront, but many people are not able to or don't want to. We can essentially take that and make it zero on day one. In addition to kind of the power of financing to close more project deals, it's also a very simple and straightforward authorization process to get involved with our residential programs. It's free to sign up and be a member of our contractor network. And in addition, we do not charge any dealer fees for any of our residential programs. The process is pretty standard. It consists of submitting an application with some documentation, proof of insurance, workers' compensation, and appropriate licenses as applicable. We'll do a quick program training. This can be conducted virtually, and we offer very flexible hours for these trainings, but it lasts roughly an hour and a half, and that covers your full program training and how to use our online portal where you would submit projects. And from there, you would just set up your account with us to access your portal, and you could start doing projects across either of our residential programs at that point. So I'm here primarily to talk about our new on-bill repayment program. I just want to briefly revisit and plug the residential energy upgrade loan. This is a loan product that CSEF has been managing since 2022. It was previously at the State Energy Office. It's about a 6-year-old program. It's been operating very well in the Colorado market that entire time. It's in partnership with Colorado-based credit unions. It does resemble more of your traditional consumer loan program, but with a few important differences. We offer pretty lengthy terms, up to 15 years for energy efficiency, 20 years for solar. Our rates, as a result of a loan loss reserve provided by the Collective Clean Energy Fund, are consistently below market interest rates. And security is simply a UCC1 fixture that is filed on the equipment, nothing on the property. But if you have additional questions or want to learn more, feel free to find me after this, or there are some links at the end of this presentation you can utilize. So primarily here to talk about today our new tariff on-bill repayment program. This is a program in partnership with Tri-State Generation and Transmission. It's being implemented through their member distribution cooperatives. So in order to utilize this financing, the end-use consumer needs to be a member of one of these co-ops, and I'll get into which ones are live right now and some of the ones that may be on the horizon in the coming months. So tariff on-bill repayment, if you're unfamiliar with this financing mechanism, It's a great financing tool in which a utility customer can elect to receive a clean energy installation off of a list of eligible measures under our program. They pay no upfront cost, and then they'll simply begin repaying the cost of that measure via a voluntary tariff that is placed on their monthly utility bill. Because it's a tariff-based program, it does not qualify as a loan. It's very different from a loan. It's considered a utility service received by the customer and paid back over time. And what's pretty interesting about that is it means that the financial obligation is tied to the property location rather than the individual themselves. Introducing this concept of the ability for the tariff or financial obligation to transfer across owners of a property or across tenants of a property over time. So this is a flow chart that just kind of demonstrates at a very high level how on-bill programs work. Begins with the installation of an eligible measure under the program, which is worked out between the contractor and the customer. At that point, either a third party or a utility, in this case, third party, us, would pay the full upfront cost of the installation directly to the contractor. And that kicks off the repayment process, in which a term has been agreed upon, a new charge appears on that customer's utility bill, and they just begin making simple monthly payments until the full amount is paid off. So this is a kind of term sheet laying out the general rules of the program. It says tariff on bill repayment here. When you see branding, you'll see some flyers on your tables as well. The program is formally called the Electrify and Save program. That's our partnership with Tri-State. We will finance up to $75,000. Terms go up to 10 years. Repayment, as I covered, is monthly through your utility bill. It includes principal and interest payments. The rates, as Patricia mentioned, start at 4%, and they are capped at $4.99. We have a capital source that, in fact, does not allow us to charge more than 5%, so they'll never raise beyond $4.99. And then an important note here is that for tariff on bill repayment programs, the security works quite differently than from a consumer loan. And so all we really have to go off of is, because this is now a line item on the customer's utility bill, it's considered essential to their utility bill. We do have the authority to threaten electricity service shutoff for non-payment. So that is kind of the security mechanism in place to make sure that we get paid back for these projects. So who can participate? As I mentioned, this is a partnership program with Tri-State Generation and Transmission. They have roughly 15 member cooperatives in the state of Colorado and around 40 or 41 co-ops across Colorado, New Mexico, Nebraska, and Wyoming. We're starting here in Colorado. We have 4 co-ops that are currently live, and that would be San Luis Valley, Sangre de Cristo, Gunnison County Electric Association, and Mountain View Electric Association. I believe a lot of folks in the room and maybe on the call are more front range focused. So I think Mountain View is probably going to be of most interest to you all. They are headquartered in Falcon, Colorado, which is right outside of Colorado Springs. But if you serve any of Tri-State's territories, just know that any beyond these 4, we are actively considering as potential folks that can join the program and implement it in their territories as well. In addition to our partnership with Tri-State, CSEF does have a vision that tariff on bill repayment is an offering that could be available to every utility customer across the state of Colorado. And so in the coming year, we're certainly going to be engaging with additional utilities beyond those that are Tri-State members. And that could be rural electric co-ops that are not under Tri-State's membership, municipally owned utilities, IOUs. So stay tuned for those conversations and announcements for new partnerships going forward.
We have like 2 minutes.
Yes, I think I can do that. So that wraps up residential programs. I'm just going to give one quick update in our commercial department. I've got some term sheets for various commercial products that are offered by CSEF and an appendix to this deck. So I'm not going to go into detail on that, but I just wanted to let you all know that CSEF did was recently announced as a recipient under the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, which was a $27 billion fund under the Inflation Reduction Act. It was separated into 3 primary programs, and I'm going to focus on the one on the left, which is the National Clean Investment Fund, NCIF. CSUF was part of a coalition that applied for money under NCIF. And as a result of that application, we are a subrecipient and we will be receiving $136 million to deploy across the commercial sector, not only in Colorado, but in EPA Region 8. So that includes Utah, Montana, Wyoming, and North and South Dakota, as well as Colorado. Eligible project types for commercial deployment. So we have a pretty short timeline under which we need to be spending this money. So we are focusing on projects that are looking for at least $1 million in financing. And they can be projects in distributed energy generation and storage, building decarbonization, transportation. And then we have this and more bucket here because we have some flexibility to offer financing to projects that generally are aligned with the mission of reducing greenhouse gases across the areas that we'll be serving under this program. So I'll wrap it up with just kind of summing how to get involved with CSUF. On the residential side, you need to be authorized in our network of contractors in order to utilize residential financing. So there is a application via the CSUF website that you can fill out. You'll conduct that training, get activated in our portal, and it's a pretty quick and easy process. On the commercial side, if you know of interested borrowers that need financing for their projects, we have a project submission form. It's a big button on our homepage. Probably can't miss it. So you'll just direct them to that submission form and our commercial staff will be in touch. There are our contact information. I probably have like 1 minute to answer questions, but thank you very much.
I actually, yeah, go ahead.
We're already on the Merchant Link portal. Are we already?
Yes, that would mean you are already authorized with us. There's a possibility you only got authorized with one of our residential programs. And so you can be in touch to double check if it's one or both, the Renew program, as well as the on-bill repayment program. But thank you for being authorized with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, all of today, the recording as well as the PowerPoints is on our EBC website. So EBC. Huh? Oh, it won't be today, Stephanie. Thank you. She's like, I won't have it up in the next hour. So in the next week, we will have all the PowerPoints and the recording, and you can go into the EEBCO.org website and look for the resources library. Great. And so next, we're going to talk about qualified contractor lists. So we've been talking about all the funding and ways to participate and then how to add financing. But John Bartlett is going to, from Colorado Energy Office, is going to talk about how all these lists are being developed, and you really need to be thinking about where and what you want to be on, right? And that's going to be the gatekeeper. So take it away. And if there's the clicker forward.
Okay. Yeah, so thanks for having me, Patricia, and happy to be here. So I'm on the building decarbonization team at the Energy Office. And as Patricia said, I'll be talking about contractor lists and some of our statewide incentives that are available or will be soon available. So I'll just skip this in the interest of time. So thinking about residential programs that are available statewide, I just want to highlight a few programs. So the first is our Colorado Heat Pump Tax Credit Program. So this is live and you can install systems currently, and when you apply for your taxes next year, you will get a tax credit. This program is for contractors installing heat pumps for HVAC or for water heating. The next two programs are the IRA rebate programs, the Home Energy Rebate Program, if you've heard of them, Each of these two programs will be $70 million for a total of $140 million. Today, I'm going to mostly talk about the HERE program, the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebates programs. So this is what you think of as a traditional rebate program. You install an appliance and you apply for a rebate. The other program is called HOMES. This one is only for large multifamily buildings and for manufactured homes. So I'm not going to focus on this today. But both of these are yet to be launched, so you haven't missed anything yet. We're hoping we can launch them in the coming months. And I should add, the heat pump tax credit has no income caps. There's no income qualification, but the IRA rebate programs will be for low or moderate income folks. Okay, so a quick overview of the tax credit while we have in the state. So like I said, either HVAC heat pumps or water heaters. The amount of the tax credit that you will get depends on which type of system you install. There is no cap on how many tax credits you can, gather in a year. So if you install 1,000 heat pumps, you can get 1,000 tax credits as long as you're following the rules. The only kind of tricky thing about this program is the contractor applies for the tax credit and receives the tax credit. But the contractor needs to provide this minimum upfront discount to the customer at the time they install that system. So for a heat pump, for HVAC, you give the customer a $500 discount. And then at the end of the year, when you file for taxes, you get $1,500 back from the state. And so, like I said, this is live. You won't get your tax credits until you do your taxes, though. For the HERE rebate program, I just want to briefly go over the types of projects that will get rebates. So it's a pretty diverse program, anything from heat pumps to panels to electric wiring to building envelope to induction stoves. And as you can see, some of these rebates are pretty substantial. So $8,000 for a cold climate rated heat pump. But just keep in mind, this is income qualified. So it's going to be only for households that are less than 150% area median income. And so for Denver family of 4, that's, maybe 150K to 200K income. I don't remember exactly for, the cap there. But this will be statewide, and it's for single family, manufactured, rentals, multifamily buildings, anything residential. Okay, so if you're a contractor, how do you access these programs? So for the state tax credit, you first need to get on the state's registered contractor list. And so to do that, you go to the CEO website. We have a page for this tax credit program. There's a button you push, and there's, I think, 10 or 15 questions you answer to go through this application. And once all of that's figured out, you'll get put up on our list, which is on our website. Right now, we have about 150 contractors on the list, and we hope we get many more across the state. It's not super laborious. It's basically like, are you an Excel trade partner? Do you have safe handling of refrigerants training? Things like that. For the HERE rebates, this is still in flux. But what I can tell you for sure is that there will be qualified contractor lists for 3 types of projects: HVAC heat pumps, air sealing, and electrical work. And so what that means is if you're trying to get rebates for those measures, you will have to join a state qualified contractor list in order to access those. This list does not exist. It does not exist yet. I can't tell you what is required to get on it because we're still figuring that out. But that's just something to flag that when this program is about to launch, we will communicate, what you need to do to get on this list. And then you'll want to join that if you want access to those rebates. The measures not listed there, so like induction stoves or blow-in insulation, you won't need to be on a qualified contractor list. So why are we doing this? Why does the state have these lists? First of all, and most importantly, we're required to do this. So the law that enacted the tax credit explicitly tells us we need to set up a registered contractor list. So we have to do that. And the law even says we need to check for your refrigerant safety cert, your brazing cert, if applicable, things like that. So for some things, we just don't have flexibility. For the IRA rebates, it's the same thing. Department of Energy requires us to spin up these qualified contractor lists. We have some flexibility and, requirements to get on the qualified contractor list, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now. But also, we think these lists do provide some consumer protection. So we can mandate certain, a level of insurance, certain, refrigerant certificates, things like that. And then also if someone's not following program rules, we can eventually remove them from the list. And then lastly, consumers do use these lists to identify contractors that are participating in programs. I'll just note, as we all know, if we have too many lists, it becomes a mess. And at that point, it's maybe not helpful at all. And we're trying to prevent that. So what other lists exist in the state if you're, doing work not just in Denver? So aside from, our 2 state lists, you're gonna have various utility lists or local government lists for different rebate programs. You can divide these broadly into 2 types. So the first is kind of the walled garden type, and that's where you need to register with the program and get on the list in order to access their rebates. So this is gonna be like Excel trade partner lists if you're doing ducted heat pumps, efficiency works if you're doing jobs in Fort Collins, or CSEF as we just heard. The other type is kind of the preferred contractor list. And this is where you don't necessarily need to be registered or on a list to get the rebates, but the program posts a list on their website that says these are our best or preferred contractors. And this is often the smaller co-op utilities or things like Energy Smart Colorado. Okay, so just an example, say you're installing a ducted cold climate air source heat pump in Denver. So what do you have to do to get all the incentives? And this will be outdated as soon as DRCOG does their thing, but just if you do it right now. So you're gonna probably wanna get the Excel rebate. That'll be $2,200 for a 3-ton system. For that, you need to be an Excel trade partner and work with Celine to get on their list. Denver has a great rebate, $3,500 plus electrical upgrades. To access their program, you need to be an Excel trade partner, and then you need to be licensed to do HVAC work in Denver. For the tax credit, like I said, you need to be on the registered contractor list. And then once the rebates, the IRA rebates are out there, you would need to be on the qualified contractor list that the state has. So that's pretty daunting and confusing. I'll just say, if you do all of that, you can potentially get $14,000 in heat pump rebates and up to $4,500 in wiring rebates, plus the tax credit. And while it seems very complicated, if you first become an Excel trade partner, like you already should be licensed in Denver probably if you're doing HVAC, so that's pretty easy. Once you're an Excel trade partner, it's easy to be a registered contractor on the state list. And I don't anticipate the qualified contractor list will be that much harder to get on either. So I realize it's complicated, but hopefully it's not too bad once it's all rolling. And we are working together to try to make this better. It's just hard. So as far as CEO is concerned, what are we thinking about as we try to figure out what to do with our qualified contractor list for the big IRA rebates? So kind of the first thing we're battling is balancing contractor access to these lists with the consumer value that they provide. So if we make the training requirements too high, only a few contractors will get on the list, and we won't have any contractors in Grand Junction or Montrose. It'll just be folks in Denver. And that's not good for a statewide program. If it's too loose, we're gonna have folks that don't know how to install heat pumps out there getting $8,000 rebates to do crappy installs. That's not good. We're trying to make sure we don't misalign this so that, contractors are only on a few lists, but can't access certain rebates. That's bad for the consumer. That's bad for all you, because you don't know how to quote a price if you don't know which programs you'll qualify for. And then kind of a last one, and I'm not gonna go too much into detail here, but we're thinking about what is going to be most valuable? Do we want to require a certain training level to get on the list? Like everyone needs a NATE certificate or something like that? Or is it better to put in quality installation mandates, like you need to do certain testing on every system? Which one of those is better for preventing bad installs? Because at least for our rebate program that's focused on low income folks, the last thing we want is a heat pump to go into that house and then it can't keep up with the load, or it's a super leaky house with bad ductwork and their utility bills skyrocket. And that low income family is not going to have money to hire another contractor to come and fix it. So we're really trying to prevent the bad installs. And so with that, that's the link to where you would learn about the heat pump tax credit on the top there, where you could apply to be a registered contractor. And then info about the IRA rebates is at the bottom link, and happy to answer any questions.
Two different lists. There's one currently, but another one.
Yes.
Wording, but, and then the other one's the qualified.
Yes. And ideally we'd have one, but the tricky part is the tax credit law requires us to ask about like brazing and some other things that I would prefer we don't have to ask about. So I don't want to ask those questions for the IRA rebates. Yeah.
I know you love this question, but any updates on approval from the DOE and when we expect this money to be available and what kind of advance notice we will, so we can start talking to customers who are waiting for this money?
Yeah, so our applications for both programs have been conditionally approved by DOE now, which is great. We haven't gotten $140 million yet, so can't tell you exactly when. I can say for the HERE program, the first launch is likely to be a pilot through the Weatherization Assistance Program. And that's just so we can get those rebates out fast. And then in parallel, we'll be spinning up the whole direct-to-consumer rebate program. So for the weatherization portion, hopefully within months. For the other one, hopefully by the end of the year.
Anticipate, or can you share any thoughts on the spread of that money across the HERE money across the weatherization versus sort of market rate?
Yeah, so I forget the exact numbers, but the weatherization portion is fairly limited right now, just because they only have so much capacity to do projects. So I want to say definitely less than 20% of the program, maybe less than 10, but don't quote me on that.
So
most of it will be direct to consumers for anyone who income qualifies.
So somewhere in the ballpark of 10% or so of the money in the next few months on weatherization and balance by year.
Well, at first it'll be all through weatherization, but once we spin up the other program, that will have much more funding for the rebates.
So we can tell people, where I'm going is we can tell people that should be able to qualify that it should be available in the market. Not all dedicated to weatherization.
Yes.
Not all dedicated to a certain specific program requirement.
Yes. The majority of the program will be open to anyone that's income qualified. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And if we're gonna take the last 10-15 minutes, if all the presenters would like to come up, and we'll answer any of your burning questions. And John, you'll have to come back. And are there any questions or thoughts that, or any questions that you guys have of the group in terms of alignment questions or,
Got one for Emily. So with the tariff being passed on homeowner to homeowner, does that have to be divulged on sale?
Well, it's kind of optional. It has the ability to transfer, but if a homeowner and an incoming potential buyer want to work it out and have the balance paid off, and just screen, they can do that as well. But yeah, we do like disclosure form. And then, when an individual signs their agreement for the project in the first place, there's a form called a land record notice that gets filed with the county, and that shows up in a title search. And it's essentially just a disclosure of the tariff.
Any other questions from the group?
Did I understand?
This is Mark with Efficiency Revolution. I have a question about the energy audits that Excel is offering through Clear Results. They're doing them for $100 and sometimes discounted to free. And this is negatively impacting my business and others as well. I'm wondering if there's been any discussion of trying to intervene and try to change that process. I think it's an unfair competition against Excel's contractors because we can't compete when Excel is offering these at a lower price than we can if we want to get the full $200 rebate for the infrared audit.
Yes, hi, Mark. Yes, I think we have looked into that before. I am not the program manager for the home energy audit program, but I have brought that to their attention. I believe there's some contractual obligatory requirements that link us to that. I don't know what that conversation is going to look like in the future. But I am more than happy to take that back to the internal team to look more into that for you. And if you want to just shoot me over a quick email, I believe you may have my information. So I think we've talked about this before, but I'd be happy to look into what that currently looks like right now, what the future may hold for those opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
I'd also like to add to that, there is a great place for the action committee to be able to kind of pool together what's what the different companies that are in the EBC are thinking about and like have, you know, those discussions or bring information for you guys. And just call out the action committees. There is a new high performance building envelope action committee chaired by Tom Mullins from Owens Corning and Ryan. You're also a co-chair of, and so, and Robert Schwartz is also on that committee. So they're having regular meetings to talk about what's going on in the market, especially I think in what we've talked about today. You guys are talking about how your company's position and energy auditors, installation areas and ceiling companies are in that group. So that is a great place to mark to, you know, work with the group on some solutions in the marketplace. So, and yeah, so I think the conversation, we can like pool information that's helpful for you guys to.
If anyone's interested in joining, we're having monthly conference calls and Sean Mullins is putting that together. So if anybody's interested in joining those conference calls, that's just so that we can kind of stay abreast of what's happening and then not waiting, you know, by yearly meetings to try to come up with ideas or ways to strengthen the program. And that's really what our ultimate mission is just to keep the program strong and effective, you know, for homeowners and therefore it's effective for our clean climate plan. But yeah, if anybody's interested in that, you can reach out to myself or Sean or Robbie and you guys welcome to join.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Paul, back to you. Yes, let's go back. Yes.
So back to Emily, so is your program just for the co-op members or is it for residential people in Colorado?
Yeah, so the tariff on bill repayment program right now is only live in 4 tri-state co-op territories. It is technically available to every tri-state territory, but there's a little bit of an onboarding and implementation timeline before more co-ops can offer it. Our Renew program is a statewide program and it's essentially utility territory agnostic.
Great, there's two more questions over here.
There's a question for Celine, the trade partner, portal, which is gonna be phenomenal, excited for that. Do we have an ETA of, like, targeted when that would be implemented?
Yeah, so we're looking at potentially second quarter of 2025.
And would all of our rebates be submitted electronically? Because like right now, our home efficiency rebate is still the old school scanned PDF, no way to track it, obviously.
Yeah, right. I don't exactly know what the plan is for getting that to the online portal, but I know it is a conversation that we have had. So I can connect with our program manager for that just to see what the status is. But yes, we do realize that that is an issue, and we're trying to move that onto the online application process. So to be continued, I'll let you know, definitely.
Anything else? We're coming down to the last minute. Yeah, go ahead.
How optimistic are you all that we're going to hit our goals?
Each program.
Yeah, which goals, John?
Yeah, whose goals?
How often is it every program here that you're gonna hit your goals? And what you're asking?
Sure. Well, I know that for the clean heat plan for Excel, the goals are very aggressive, which is great. Shoot for the moon, right? Will they hit them? But it's great to have that target.
Yeah, we did meet about that, and we talked about the goals and how hefty they are, and I think all of us in the room were just kind of just looking at it, and we're a little speechless. I will say that, but we're gonna tackle it as best as we can, and that's basically what we all said in the room is, hey, we realize that yes, it's a big number, but we are just gonna try our very best and do everything that we can to make it possible. So everybody's got a really good attitude about it. So, yeah, I guess that's probably the best that I can say about our goals and how we feel about it.
For Denver Regional Council of Governments, the goals in that program were backed up based on the money we had. So I believe we'll spend all the money, and I believe we'll hit those goals. Wearing my actual work hat for Boulder County, we have an 80% emission reduction goal by the end of 2030. We're not gonna hit that, not close, not possible.
We also think we'll get the money out the door, but the big question is, can we use that money to increase the quality of heat pump installs in the state? And that's what we're thinking hard about in terms of program rules and contractor requirements. So TBD, but I hope we don't have any bad heat pump installs that get $8,000 rebates.
The new A2L refrigeration regulations impact like the residential as much as it would be the commercial for heat pumps. Because I know like the new refrigeration goes into the pipes for refrigeration is more flammable. So like in a commercial building, then you have to deal with that. I don't know about residential, it's not as much of a distance.
Yeah, I can speak to our programs. It's all we care about is the equipment Energy Star certified. So I assume Energy Star will certify new equipment that uses those different refrigerants.
Yeah, it's more just like when you install it.
Yeah,
like the installer, so they have to worry about.
So the potential problems I see are at the local permitting level with like
The fire
code. I wish we could mandate everyone gets on the same code, but different municipalities control it. But yeah, that's an issue that.
Well, to be fair, there's flammable stuff in the buildings already,
Yeah, true.
and A2Ls are slightly flammable, and
Right.
it's fairly well proven out that it's not a problem. Even the NFPA has signed off and saying, we're good with this.
Okay, because we're doing more stuff. We're building the first electric hotel in Boulder at Limelight. And so we're dealing with it there, but it's bigger.
Well, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. This has been a fantastic conversation day. Thank you all for coming. I think the point and final wrap it up with your question, is that it seems the synergy and alignment, and we're just gonna take a village. With your side and with our side in the field to make it all happen. So we really appreciate you being here today. today. And thank you, everyone. Grab some food on the way out for your office if
You want to network out in the halls, because otherwise you're going to be one of Eric's students.
We got, at 2 o'clock, we got an estimating class. You're welcome to stay, but I'll make you do construction math. So, thank you all.
Thank you. One of the two. Do you have? The data to what's projected, just really interested in. Bill, like, we'll start with early afternoon. It was even strategizing.
Thanks, man.
From schedule. Yeah. We can have our project meeting during.
Thank you.
This would be a problem. Definitely love.
With that, but at the same time.
We met. All good to meet you. Canvas and ask the question. So to chat with you all. It scares me, so. We'll talk about some of the installation side of things. They probably started an email chain. There's that scheduling. Eve received the people out today, so I didn't hear. But I'll just kind of like recap. We talked about recap.